Pastor Russ here with Hope for Today. If you weren't able to view yesterday's message either live or online, I want to give you a quick recap of it. It has some very important information. The message is entitled Shaking Off the Dust. In that passage, Paul gives us some very specific directions that are oftentimes confused, unnecessarily, I might say. In Galatians chapter 6, beginning in verse 2, he writes these words. He says, "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." That's the first command. Then he gives us a little bit of expounds on that a little bit. He says, if anyone is thinking he is something when he's nothing, he deceives himself. Each one should test his own actions. Then he can take pride in himself without comparing himself to someone else. And then here's the second command, and this is where it gets a little confusing. For each one should carry his own load. And we want to say, wait a minute, stop. I mean, it sounds kind of contradictory. First of all, Paul tells us that we're to help bear someone's burdens, and then he tells us that we are to carry our own load. What's the difference? There is no contradiction. Paul uses two different words here. When he says help carry someone's burden, we used yesterday the illustration, that's like a boulder. This is something that happens in someone's life that is not a normal occurrence, if you would. It may be like a prolonged illness of a parent or a child. It may be the loss of a job and the person simply can't find work. It could be things like a spouse walks out. Maybe the husband or the wife walks out on the family. These are things that are not everyday normal occurrences, and Paul says they're like a boulder. You can't carry that or pick that up by yourself. You need the help of your fellow Christians. On the other hand, he says each one's to carry their own load. We use the illustration of a backpack to talk about our load. These are things that we are responsible for as individuals. Things like our behaviors, our feelings, certainly our actions. But it also includes things like our rent, our mortgage, our food bills, paying our utilities, our car payment. These are our responsibilities. And sometimes what happens is we confuse the two and we try in the goodness of our hearts to help someone carry their load. In essence, what we're doing is having a negative effect. Instead of helping, we're actually hurting. It's our responsibility to learn to carry our own load. And sometimes what we have to say to someone, although it doesn't feel good, it doesn't even feel or sound Christian, we have to say, no, that's your responsibility. It's necessary that we draw lines, so to speak, to help someone understand this is where my responsibility lies, and here's where it ends, here's where yours begins. When we try to carry someone else's load, again, we're simply creating potentially a dependency relationship. We're also, too, taking away from them the joy that they should feel in carrying their own load. Again, I hope you'll take some time to look at that message yesterday. I thought it was very insightful, not because I came up with all that stuff. I'm just one beggar telling another beggar where to find bread. But it was very impactful in my own life. I think it could be impactful in yours and help you in clarifying some of the relationships you may have.